before we start, I gotta vent about something.
Okay.
So obviously on Freeform, there's the 31 Days of Halloween, and they're showing The Mummy Returns, and
Mhm.
god damn, was the CGI in that movie fucking bad.
Yeah, it was like 2000 and fucking one that shit came out.
Yeah, but dude, The Rock's CGI in that movie looks so bad, so
Yeah.
bad.
Duh.
I couldn't believe it. I was just watching. I was like, I don't remember this thing being this bad, but I said I think this is about to be really bad because I remember somebody on YouTube like redid the scene with like
Yeah.
modern day like CGI, and it was like
Mhm.
spot on. But I guess you're right. I guess in 2001 they're pushing the envelope on what the
Think about that, dude.
what
That's
the hell they can and
literally
can't do.
it's fucking 20 years ago.
And think about it, Brendan Fraser was like badass back then.
He went through a rough time, and it wasn't because of any fault of his own. It was weird. Like, it's like a sad story with him. Like, he got like a divorce, and then his wife was like, "I'm taking the kids and I'm taking all of your money and everything," and basically like just completely fucked him. Um,
Really?
Yeah, he's coming back though. He's in a lot of shit. He's got another new movie thing coming up that I want to see. Man, I love Brendan Fraser, so
Yeah.
I want him to have a comeback like it's no one's business. I
He's
love
in
Brendan Fraser.
he's in Doom Patrol.
Yeah, he's the robot dude. I think.
Yeah, which I've never seen Doom Patrol. I've only seen it when they show up in Titans. I think they show up in Titans. You didn't watch Titans though.
No.
Oh, yeah, it's probably a good bet on your end. So, but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is why my nerd presents Alpha Beta Gold. I'm Cameron James, and joining me, as always, who will only be here for a short more period of time because he's going to go take a 2 week hiatus once the PlayStation 5 comes out, is none other
Yeah.
than just
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah. In a couple weeks, there's gonna be no Matt, or there's just gonna be no show for a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's just
Cause
been a hiatus until you come back with a full review on that one. So,
yeah,
which is it is coming quick. I can't believe how freaking literally
one month,
one
a month
month.
from tomorrow.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
shocker, kind of shocker. And I know who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody, and they're a firm believer that on day one of that release, they'll be able to walk into any Walmart, any Target, and get one.
Who said that?
I don't remember who the fuck I was talking to. And I was maybe it was it was Vitali. That's who it was. He's like, I'm just gonna go to Walmart in Neptune and get an Xbox Series X the day it launches. I'm like, what? He's like, I took off from work. I was like,
Yeah,
you
no,
think
no,
you're just
no.
gonna walk in?
He'll be okay getting an Xbox Series X because nobody's gonna want them anyways. So he'll be okay getting that. I'm
Fair,
fucking around.
fair,
I don't think,
fair.
in truth, I don't think if you haven't pre-ordered it, I think you're gonna have a chance because I think when the PS4 and Xbox One came out, um, there were like maybe a couple extra units at some stores like that were just not pre-ordered and were just first come first served. But I, it stands to reason, but I wouldn't just fucking put all your chips in that basket because no offense, he ain't the only one who's got that idea.
Yeah.
So
I know I was listening to somebody talk about this Xbox Series S, and they were actually saying like you should probably be concerned about it because yeah, Microsoft came back with like, obviously a cheaper price point. It's like really affordable to pretty much anybody. Not anybody, but in a reasonable price range. And they were saying that it's literally just an Xbox One with the ability to play next gen games. Like it gets hot, and that was actually something we were gonna say. I think talk about. It was like there's been a lot of
oh yeah,
rumors that the new Xbox gets really really hot.
so it's not even so I'm gonna pull up that one
Yeah,
article. So it's
I
not.
know Greg Miller has it.
Yeah, well, he's got it, and so we talked about that last week.
Yeah,
Greg has it, and
Alana
Alana
Pierce.
Pierce has one. Yeah,
I wonder what
Xbox
games
Series
they're playing
X.
on it.
Well, so here's a problem. So I'm gonna pull up this one article that here's with Xbox Series X running hot. In these reviews, I'm trying to find the one article, but there was literally someone who got their hands on one early and was like, I guess going to change out the expandable memory because Microsoft has like a proprietary Seagate card that they can put in for expanding the memory, like a slot in the back. And I think they said they went to like take it out, and it was so hot that it burned their fucking hand, which is definitely not good.
Yeah,
But truth be told, if you know the people that I was reading when they were talking about it, they're like, there's so much hot air coming out of it that like it could warm your apartment in the winter. But
Oh.
that's it's like if one of them said it was like it felt like a fucking like a chimney shaft, like a furnace, and it's like, okay, that's hot, but in truth, if it's that much hot air is coming out of it, it's technically doing its job. It's ventilating the heat. That's the point. The heat
Makes
doesn't need
sense.
to be in there. It needs to be out. So technically, you can't give them shit because it's doing its fucking job. But if you're able to reach in and take a chip out and it fucking burns your hand when you do it, that's probably not good. You
Yeah.
know, like that's definitely not good, and that's gonna raise a lot of problems if there's fucking small kids using this shit and they go to touch it and they burn their fucking hand. That's not good.
Well,
Period.
the S we've mentioned multiple times before. The S does show you where the fan is. Like the fan is right there. Like it's a fucking
Yeah.
huge hole. So
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously going to be relatively easy to clean that one. The X, I didn't see where the fan was on the X. And I
The
know
X is
that
there. There is no the X. There's no. It is the top of it. So
oh,
it's
okay.
like when they show the pictures of it, there's the fucking square top, and
Hmm.
it's like kind of concave. That is the fan. The fan sits right beneath that. But the thing is that's the only opening I think on this fucking thing. Like it's just this one fucking opening right on the fucking top. Like there's really not a lot of. I don't think there's any vents on the back, and the bottom is just completely closed off. So it's like you have this one thing on the fucking top. That's it. That's the only place for the heat to be exhausted. It's just this tiny fucking
I mean,
coming out the
I
top.
guess they're betting on the fact that heat rises and it's just gonna, suck right out and suck right up. I don't know. I mean, it was an interesting thing when I read because again, obviously I feel like right now between PS5 and Xbox Series X, it's like watching fucking politics. Like they're just like bickering back and forth until it's like, oh my god, shut up! Like,
That's it. That's how it's always been. Like
and then Nintendo's just kind of like, hey, we're here. Don't worry about us.
and that's just it. Nintendo's like, dude, we're just doing our fucking thing. We're just putting games out, and that's it. If you want to
Yeah,
play our games, cool. If you don't want to play our games, we don't care because we're still gonna make a fuckload of money anyways. But it's just the worst part is Sony hasn't really put out, or at least that they've said they haven't put out. Like, I don't know if people are getting like review consoles. I'm sure they do, but they're just not talking about it yet, or they're not allowed to talk about it yet. But all these influencers that are getting Xboxes, it's just so funny because they're just so up Microsoft's ass about like this is the greatest fucking thing ever. But then one of the like I guess reviews that I was reading was that these things were getting so hot, and it was just people testing backwards compatible games. So you're playing games from a previous generation and it's making your system this fucking hot, then I'm a little concerned about how it's going to be when you're playing, a first party title. Like you're playing a brand new Xbox One X or Series X specific title, how hot it's going to make your fucking console. Like I think
yeah.
Digital Foundry was like demoing, or somebody was fucking demoing like Hitman 3 or 2 or not Hitman 3, right? I don't know, whatever
I
the
don't know where
recent
they're
Hitman
at.
is. We were playing Hitman and it was like, yeah, it's getting pretty fucking hot. That's I don't know. That scares the shit out of me. If you're playing a game from a previous generation and it's making your shit that fucking hot.
It's gonna be the red ring of death all over again.
Well, I mean, they did. Series X did, or Microsoft did a teardown of the Xbox One and Series X like 6 months ago, and I mean, from a design standpoint, they were able to take all of this shit and fit it in this very, compact box, but it's kind of troublesome when I look at it and you see all of these heat producing chips. There's this giant brick of a heat sink and then a fan just above it. And there's like almost no space within the console for like things to breathe, I guess. Like
Mhm.
there's very little to no space between the components within this thing. Whereas, this week the big fucking thing was that Sony did their, hey, we're gonna tear this thing down, and they had the I guess it's like the head of engineering over there, like he did with the PS4 and PS4 Pro, and he just took apart the whole fucking thing. And inside of it, it's really they built this thing around the idea that they needed to keep shit cool. Like the whole
Yeah.
thing is designed specific. Like it's like they knew what they wanted to do in terms of performance, but they built it around keeping it cool, like ventilating it, keeping all the components cool to, I mean, I'm not going to say cold, but like just making sure that and that's part of why, they said it's as big as it is. It has to be big to properly keep it fucking cool.
Which, which obviously makes sense, especially when you have, PlayStation Pros right now that are, playing games like my PlayStation Pro, playing games now at the end of the cycle, and the thing sounds like a fucking jet engine helicopter landing in your fucking, living room. But before we get into that, once again, this is Why Am I Nerd presents Alphabeted Gold, where you can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd, and listen to new episodes every Monday on YouTube or your favorite podcast service. So obviously we will be talking about the Sony breakdown. They showed it again. I am leaving that to Matt. We had Jason doing it too, but Jason decided to plant trees and hack up his fucking yard, I guess, yesterday. So he's a little sore. But you still playing Hades?
Yeah, still playing it a little bit. Still playing 13 Sentinels. Just trying to really start like putting the foot to the floor so I can start cleaning things up before the change comes. But I still haven't started playing Mafia yet. It's just fucking staring at me on my dashboard. I'll get to it though.
I downloaded Sleeping Dogs. Finally. Nice. I installed it. So now it's just sitting there waiting to be played. I haven't turned on my PlayStation in a couple of days. After Kevin Conroy gave me a fucking birthday shout out, I was kind of like, all right.
Shout out to Batman.
Seriously.
Shout out to Batman.
Most inspirational Batman speech I've ever seen in my life. It was great. It was great. I was very thankful for that. But yeah, so I don't think did I beat Order 1886 last week? I think I beat it. We talked about.
I think you texted Jason and I, and you said like we needed to start a petition to get a sequel going for that game.
We do. I thought it was, again, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. I think that, for what it was and for how, it took me a while to beat it because I was taking my time. It was obviously predictable, but I thought they did a really good job with it. And again, I can't harp on enough. I'm glad I played it, and I'm glad I finally, bit the bullet and made my 6-hour journey. Yeah, and I had fun. Again, it looks good now. So if you're like, well, the game's so fucking old, it's not that old. So relax. Like you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about freaking any of that bullshit. So pick up the game. It's $5. Play it. Enjoy it. And I will say I don't like real time boss fights, especially at the end of a game, because I feel like it's kind of like cheeky. But this one works for some reason.
Well, because it's not even really like a fight. It's like as I recall, it's like a hand-to-hand combat kind of thing. Like it's just like it's a struggle more than it is like a fight.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting because I was like, this might not work, but it did, and I thought that they pulled off well because again, when you get to games like that, I kind of feel like when you're about to hit like a one-on-one battle, like back, in the day, I'm talking like 64, PlayStation 2, GameCube, all that shit. Your boss fight was like you versus one guy, and you'd have like a machine gun. You guys were just like lighting each other up for like fucking like 25 minutes until someone goes down. Now to do a quick time fight where it's like, okay, don't fuck up or you get stabbed or yada, yada, yada. It just fit the game well. And I thought they did a really good job with it. And again, I thought the Jack the Ripper thing was a little out there for me. I was like, okay, but I had already knew about it. We talked about it before in the show. So if you don't know Jack the Ripper was up in it, like you're beat. But yeah, it worked. It was fun. Again, I hope they play it again. I'm still make another one. I'm still dabbling around in Gears Tactics, and a game I like it. I'll continue to play it. Hopefully, I'll beat it. I probably won't go pick up XCOM though. That Alien's a little too much for me. But after that, I'm definitely diving into Sleeping Dogs, and then
I'm so excited for you to start playing that game, and I'm really gonna be bummed if you're like, it's not doing it for me. I would actually be upset because I think like if you just take that game for what it is, it's a fucking blast because there's just so much random shit that you can do in that game, because it has like the GTA-esque
It looked,
stuff where
yeah.
you've got your collectibles around the map that you can get. You can go to clothing stores and buy different looks. You can go buy different cars. You can have, it's like you can drive all the different cars and do street races and shit. You're doing half cop missions, half I'm a criminal missions because you're undercover. It's honestly,
There's no supernatural elements in it, right?
they did a DLC because if you got the complete edition, they did. I think it was called like Nightmare in like something point, where it's like they had like ghosts show up, but it's just part of the DLC. Like it's almost like an undead nightmare kind of thing. But like the main story, there's no supernatural aspect to it. It's just like Hong Kong crime. That's it. Like it's just like just you're an undercover cop, and I think it's Hong Kong, and it's just like
I won't be getting
you're just playing the story
or anything like that.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, when the one DLC, yeah, they had like weird ass powers and shit. But for the most part, it's like you're either beating the shit out of people or you're occasionally whipping out a gun and shooting them in the face.
No, it looks good. I watched the trailer again just to get myself into it. I think it'll be.
They're making a movie of it too.
I saw that.
Finally, yeah, I will totally see that movie. And I think they said Donnie Yen is playing the main character. So
Who's
Donnie Yen. Ip Man, he played Ip Man. He did, if you saw like Star Wars Rogue One, he plays Chirrut, the blind guy.
Okay, yeah.
He's super famous martial artist and is really fucking cool. So if he plays Wei Shen, that's great. But all around, I think you'll really like that game. Honestly,
it should keep me busy for a while.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I mean, you can like, if you wanted to blow through it and just go story mission to story mission, you could, but that's not the fun part of it. Go do other shit, do side missions, go just walk around, just enjoy just exploring Hong Kong and just fucking street races and shit, and just go looking for random stuff.
Oof, I hate racing cars and games.
You don't have to do them. And in truth, the driving in this game, as I recall it, wasn't really bad. Like it's not a difficult game to control a car, and I think you actually can pick the car you want to use for the race. So you could just roll up to a race where people are like using shitty like Nissan Sentras, and you're rolling up in like a fucking Lamborghini. Like, I got this.
And you just call it a day. All right, that's that's a little bit.
I think, if I recall correctly, it's been quite a few years, but yeah, I think you can use your own car.
Cool.
So
we'll see. I will hop on that this week because again, I will not be getting a PlayStation 5 at launch immediately based on everything else that's going on. And so I won't be playing the game, which I want to talk about real fast, which is Cyberpunk, that last week we said is not going to be released. And then the next day, they're like, fuck you guys over at Outfitted Gold. It's counts one gold. I was like,
it's the whole game. Yeah, as soon as it's like I woke up, it was like, they've gone gold. I was like, well, we look stupid now, don't
we? We definitely did. Because here I am going like next March, next February, push it back. And they're like, yeah, fuck you. Like, it is what it is. So I guess
good news though.
It is.
So now we know.
What was weird to me about that article was just the fact of like they made such a big deal about it, like literally the Monday, like a week prior, that like, oh, they're on crunch time, they're doing all this development crunch and they're doing this, people are working crazy hours. And then all of a sudden a week later, like, yeah, just kidding, game's gold. Like,
well, that doesn't mean that they still have a lot of work to do, because obviously even when the game has gone gold, they're still working on update stuff that they know they need to fix that'll just launch, day one or, first week, whatever. That doesn't mean their work stops. So
do you think that they're just, I guess my question is, do you feel that they just rush to get it gold because it's so close and that you're going to get it and they're going to be like, hey, here's this huge 20 gigabyte patch on day one? Because wasn't Red Dead like that? Didn't Red Dead was
Red Dead though. I think. Well, I also think too, like when we're finding out this news that there's this mandatory crunch 6-day work weeks. You don't know where. We're just finding out about that news. I don't know if there was anything that said how long it had been going on already. Could have been going on for a week. Could have been going on for a fucking month. Could have been going on for 3 months. They could have been doing it since the fucking end of the summer. We just don't know that.
That's good.
But I mean, maybe there was some elaboration on that. I know Jason Schreier was saying that there was like never any negotiations of whether this was going to happen or not. That if there was any possibility that they weren't going to have to do crunch, it was just like they just made the executive decision and said, no, sorry, we have to do it. But I don't know. He got shit for that. Apparently, people were like, "Fuck you, Jason Schreier. You're an asshole for reporting something like this." But that's his fucking job. He's a journalist. He
Yeah,
gets a story. He's going to talk about it. He's not
right.
just going to sweep shit like that under the rug. But even if it looks a little bad on CD Projekt Red, but on the whole, they're probably one of the better developers out there these days. So I can't give them too much shit.
I mean, this is probably the most hyped game that's coming out this year. And as of right now, you could probably arguably say even into next year. Like, there's nothing next year that's really been talked about or hyped or previewed. Like, this is like the big game, and who
Yeah, I
knows
mean, there's
how.
other things like Demon Souls. People want to play Demon Souls, but the
Yeah.
larger market is going to play Cyberpunk. They're like, this is how you finish your year
Mhm.
for a
And
big fucking title.
I kind of feel bad for Valhalla because Valhalla does look good and it is intriguing to me, but it's like it's kind of like what happened with Black Flag. Like it was just a cross-gen game and good timing. Like I'll probably end up buying Valhalla before Cyberpunk only because Valhalla I could probably run pretty smoothly on the PlayStation 4 Pro.
You'll absolutely be able to run it fine on the Pro, and it's funny because I think you and I will be on the opposite sides of that spectrum. I was talking to my buddy Dan, who at some point we should totally bring him on the
Yeah,
podcast. He's got a lot of things to
you
say.
can always come on.
But I'll be getting Cyberpunk. Provided everything goes according to plan. I'll be getting Cyberpunk day one of its launch, and I'll be playing it on PS5. But
Mhm.
as much as I want to play Valhalla, I'm gonna wait because I even though I like Assassin's Creed games, I know what I'm getting into, so I don't need to rush out to play that game at $60. I can wait a little bit. I can wait and play that around Christmas or just
Yeah.
after the new year, save a couple bucks maybe, and still enjoy it. But I don't think it's being overshadowed. I mean, it's an Assassin's Creed game. People are going to play it or they're not going to play it. It's not
Mhm.
like it's like, oh my god, everybody's talking about it. Like, I hope for them it's good because Vikings are fucking sweet, dude. They've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I hope it's good. It looks great. But
It
I
does.
remember when PS4 Pro came out, or PS4, yeah, Black Flag was coming out, and I was like, fuck. I was like, I really want to play Black Flag, but I'm gonna wait. And I waited, and it was the first thing that I played on my PS4. And it looked great and it played better, obviously. So that's why I'm kind of just like, yeah, fuck it. I'll just wait and I'll play it on PS5. It's not that big of a deal. But if I ended up wanting to play it on PS4, I certainly could do that. But I don't need to rush out to play that one. I already know more or less what I'll be getting into with that.
I mean,
Cyberpunk, though.
yeah, Cyberpunk's just a whole different ball game because it's something that you could probably arguably say no one's really seen. I mean, I guess you could kind of say it's probably on the spectrum of like maybe like Deus Ex, but I don't like Deus Ex.
No, I couldn't get into that game.
It's just too I don't know. There's too many like loopholes, I guess, and like things that like if you do one thing wrong, it like messes up the whole game. I have to sneeze so bad right now,
Mm-hmm.
so
Do it. Bless.
sorry.
Bless you.
What was the marker on that? 23 minutes. All right, cool. But yeah, like I kind of, I guess, I hope it doesn't fall into that trap because Deus Ex was a game like I replayed the beginning of that game probably as many times as Jason played the beginning of The Witcher 3. Like I've played the intro of freaking Deus Ex so many fucking times, and I just can't get. I'm like, why don't I like this? Like, what is it about this game I do not like? And I just
Yeah.
can't pinpoint it. I hope that Cyberpunk does not do that. I really do.
That's as much as I've been excited to play this game for fucking years, I've been purposely, and I think I told you this a long time ago, and I've been sticking to it for the most part. I've seen a couple of things, but I've more or less been avoiding watching any trailers. I haven't watched any of these Night City wires they've
I
done.
haven't either.
I haven't watched anything because I kind of want to just go into this game with as few preconceived notions as I possibly can. But
Yeah.
I'm also very specifically going into this game not expecting it to be the next Witcher of my life. I
Okay.
want to enjoy it.
I think that's good.
I want to enjoy it. I think I will, but I don't expect it to be the next life-changing Witcher style game for me. If it ends up being that way, that's fucking awesome because then CD Projekt Red is 2 for 2. But I am expecting to enjoy this game. I find it highly unlikely that I would hate this game or strongly dislike it. I think everything's going to end up being okay. But it also is one of those kinds of games where I think it will be good at launch, but it will require more updates over time to truly reach its maximum potential. So
I mean I am a little bummed out that it isn't third person. I know you don't really doesn't really affect you.
it was
I
third
wish it
person, all the
was.
same. It would have been cool, but I think they said originally early on they had wanted to maybe do third person, but with the mechanics, it didn't really play as well as they wanted it to in third person. So
I can
that's why
see
they
that.
switched to first person. Otherwise, it would have. And who knows? Maybe they go, fuck, actually we could add a third person mode later in an update. That would warrant for me an
Yeah,
entire another playthrough. If I could do that in
100%.
third person, I'd be like, cool, fuck it, start it from the top and just do it
It's
again.
like GTA did that with GTA. Was it five?
Yeah,
Five.
and
And
then they did first person, and it was actually pretty fucking fun at times just getting into first person mode. It was like, it was weird because the world goes from being like when you're looking at your character walking down the street, like you can see the world and
Mhm.
you're like, oh, that's cool. And then when you go to first person, you're like, oh, the world seems, I know how big this world is, and it just like, it got really like claustrophobic
Yep.
almost. It's cool. It's cool
That's
though.
like it's like Red Dead 2. Like I said to myself, one day I will play through that game again in first person, or at least up until you get to Guarma, or the fuck you go, and I'll stop.
Mm.
But I just enjoy third person games better because I'm going to take the time to develop my character and the way they look and the way they freaking dress. Like, let me
Mm.
see that. Not
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to put all this cool stuff on, but it's a first person, so it means absolutely nothing. Like,
Well, I mean, that's kind of there's also a little bit of fallacy to that argument too, because as cool as it can be, and you do want to look cool. Actually, no, sorry, I'm actually completely incorrect. Yes, you do want your third person character to look cool, because I was thinking in terms of like Dark Souls and Demon Souls, where people spend like a fucking hour making their character look a certain way, and then they never fucking see them because they're completely covered in armor and shit. And it's like, I don't care about what my person looks like under this armor, because in
yeah.
Dark Souls, when you're dead, you look like a piece of beef jerky. So it doesn't fucking matter. Like, people will run around in diapers in that game, and that's when they give a shit about what their character looks like. But for me, I'm like, I give a shit what the armor looks like.
That's
I
what I
don't give
mean.
a shit
Yeah.
what I look like underneath it. I couldn't possibly care less. I have a giant fucking nose, like pointed ears. Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
what I was getting at. Like how
yeah.
like what the hell's that game coming out? The one that we switched thoughts on for PS5.
Godfall.
Yeah.
Godfall, visually, your characters look, the armor looks very fucking cool. But if
Yep.
they say, hey, you can design what your person looks like underneath the suit, I'm going to be like,
Who cares?
randomize it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Hit the
Yeah.
random button and then get the cool suit of armor that you like. And then that's what your character looks like. Like in Destiny, I remember when it first came out years ago, I spent a lot of time working on or not even that much time, but I made my EXO, which is like an android, like a
Hmm.
robot, look a certain way. And then it became abundantly clear after that no one, I think, in the history of Destiny has ever seen my character without its helmet off. It's like the fucking Mandalorian. Like, I don't take the helmet. The helmet stays on. No one sees what I look like.
Right.
So it doesn't fucking matter. Just make a character, then get the cool armor, and then look that way, or change your armor and then look that way, or look that way. Just
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do something cool with that and add it in. It'll be interesting too. Is what after they get this done, right? Are they or have they not started working on their next project? Do you think they kind of have an idea of what they're going to do next? You think they're kind of just like, no, let's just mess with this for the next couple of years and then we'll figure something out? Or
No, they're definitely concepting. At least they've got to be just doing something. It's just even just artwork. What could we be doing? Trying to piece together the like bare bones of a story. There's got to be something. It's very infrequent that a developer just works on something and then stops and they don't do anything else. You gotta have a pipeline. Otherwise, by time people are like, oh, hey, cool, so Cyberpunk's been out for 2 years, are you guys working on anything else? And they go, actually, no, 100%, we haven't done anything. Then people are going to be like, well, shit, how you keeping the lights on?
yeah, I think my thing is is Witcher 4 needed?
Well, I think they said if they do another Witcher, it's not going to be related to Geralt. It's going to
Hmm.
be somewhere else in that universe. But at that, where we see the story happening, Witchers are pretty much like an endangered species. Like, they really don't exist anymore. So I don't know if it would maybe be like a prequel, like it would go back to like the height of like when Witchers were really crazy. And it'd be cool because then you could show like Vesemir when he was younger, and he was like early on in his career, shit like that. But I think they said it would be a totally different character. Like it would not be related to Geralt, and it would just be something else. But
Probably a smart
I mean,
move.
I'm sure it would be fun, but I don't know if they need to make another Witcher game. I wouldn't mind if they just did what they did, like they did Witcher, they did Cyberpunk, and now make something totally new.
I can see them taking Witcher 3 and doing some overhaul on it and be like the Witcher 3 PS5, Xbox Series X super remaster or something crazy like
Well,
that.
that's what they're doing. They're already doing that.
Oh, they
There
did
already is
announce
the
that?
Yeah, they
Oh,
announced.
I
I
missed
think I
that.
sent the. Oh, here, I'll send you the picture. They already sent a. They posted it on their Instagram a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
They
really?
literally showed what the cover art was, and they're like, yeah, coming in 2021, these like the PS5 and Xbox Series X specific versions of The Witcher Complete. If you already own it, you get the free upgrade to the new one. So
Really? Oh, that's good to know because
yeah, man.
I have it digitally. I downloaded the complete edition digitally
See,
as
well,
well.
that's. I was gonna say that's my one concern though with it is that I technically own The Witcher 3 and both of the DLCs, but I don't own The Witcher 3 Complete. That's a separate
I
technical
think
application.
I think I
So
have it.
I don't know if they get like picky about that and they're like, "Oh, well, you don't have The Witcher 3 Complete, so you have to buy it." But it's like I already own the game. I feel like they probably thought about that, and if you just own it, it'll recognize that you own all of it and they'll give it to you. But I already said, if they're shitty about that and they say no, it has to be the specific Witcher 3 Complete, I'll buy that shit on PS4 on Black Friday for $20, or I would genuinely spend $70 again to play that game. That is so I'm just gonna put the phone up, but you can see.
Oh wow! It almost looks the same as yeah. It almost looks the same as yeah. It's the same cover. Now I'm looking at
Yeah.
it. And yes, I do have the complete Game of the Year edition of The Witcher 3 on my PlayStation 4, so that'll be a nice, transition over. But it
Yeah.
would be, it'll be interesting to see what happens, with them because I hope they don't end up getting stuck in the slums of like Watch Dogs. Watch
Mm,
Dogs Legion. They showed more stuff. They were showing. I was watching about the grandma gameplay.
I don't give a
That
shit.
game, man, is
I
just
don't give a
not.
shit.
I know, man. It's like weird. Like, what are they trying to do?
I
I
went
don't.
on.
I can't grip it. I'm like not interested in this game at all.
No, it's really funny because like I mean I played the first Watch Dogs. I didn't think it was terrible
Aiden Pierce was his name,
early.
right?
Yeah, and then I couldn't get into Watch Dogs 2, and I
No.
pretty much checked out on Watch Dogs 3. But like the other day, going on fucking IGN and like GameSpot and just like the gaming r/gaming subreddit, it was like all these fucking videos from all these different outlets showing the crazy grandma gameplay
Yeah.
for Watch Dogs Legion. It's like if that's shouldn't be your fucking selling point for that game is the fucking crazy grandma.
I think it's more of a spoof.
I don't know, man. They were going really hard on that, and
Yeah,
they were
she's like
like,
gimping away, and then she gets on like a motorcycle and just like takes off. I'm like, come on, like, let's be honest. Like,
yeah,
it's
it's funny,
almost
but dude, that gets boring in about 20 minutes.
comedic. It's like
Yeah.
pushing the borders of Saints Row at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, if you want to go full Saints Row, though, just go full Saints Row.
Yeah.
Um, but
Have
yeah,
the giant like just to go run around beating people to death with dildos in the street and
yeah, something
Hulk
ridiculous like
hands.
that. And even you can even say, what the heck's that zombie game does it really well too?
Dead
Dead Rising.
Rising.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's full. They
Yeah,
embrace.
if you're gonna get campy, just be campy.
Yeah,
Don't be like campy but serious because we're being monitored by our government constantly and all that shit.
and I hope that this game isn't that because I can see this game trying to have a serious storyline, and you're just doing these like really like bonker stuff, and it's just to the point where it doesn't go hand in hand. And then what? Wow,
No, that's
you know.
why I can't do it. You know what? I
And
just think it just popped into my head randomly. You know what I want Ubisoft to do, and not another one of these stupid Rabbids ones. I want them to just make another Rayman game,
mhm,
like Legends or like Origins. Those were
it's
fucking fun
needed.
games. Like I want one of those games really bad. It just popped into my head how much I love that shit. Like they
Legends
need to
had the
just
4 characters you could play as, right?
Legends had like a fuck ton of characters that you could
Did
play
it?
as, and you could
Those ones.
also get like cards that like special
Yeah.
cards in that game that let you go back and play levels from Origins. Like you could basically
Oh,
play
I
like
didn't know
all of
that.
Origins again. It was fucking God. I love that game. So good.
Yeah, that was a fun game, and Crash is getting a lot of good hype.
The new one, yeah, dude, it's fucking knocking it out of the park. Anytime I go to the PSN store, there's it's like right on the main page. It's
Yep.
like Crash, like it's about time. Like, and I see plenty of people playing it on my friends list. Like, they did a great job. So fucking rock on, man. More people know who Crash is now probably than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'll pick
Crash
that
is
game.
making a
I'll
big
pick that
comeback.
game up when it's on a sale. That's not a
Yeah,
full price game for me.
no,
And just going back to Watch Dogs real quick, and like with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think Assassin's Creed did a pretty good job dropping the modern day aspect of things. I mean, it's still in there, but
but
you could
minimally,
erase that. Yeah, it doesn't
hmm
really need to be there, and
no.
it's almost there for like a lore aspect where you're just getting background story of whatever the
I
fuck.
feel like they're
Like that.
building to something like at some point in this series because I feel like they cut down on the modern day shit
Mm.
because I think they didn't really know where the fuck their story was going, so they kind of had to say maybe we should slow down on this.
If you kill off
Um,
Desmond in the third game,
yeah, so I think at some point they're gonna maybe jump back and put more of the modern day shit in
ugh.
there and then capitalize on that. But dude, if they just kept fucking doing it, just here pick a time period and set me in that time period and that's it, totally cool with it.
But what's the next time
Totally
period
fun.
they pick? You've done Vikings, you've done Egyptian, you've done Greek, you've done Civil War. Do you go modern?
You did French Revolution. Well, they dabbled in Syndicate, which was Victorian England. They dabbled in like World War One. They could
I'm
maybe go full into World War One or even World War Two.
That's
I
what I
mean,
say. Or do you ever see Boardwalk Empire?
yeah. So 1912, like so basically like Prohibition America.
Could be kind of cool.
You could do
The problem is when you start bringing firearms to that game. How do you balance it to where I'm not an assassin just goes in there with a Tommy gun and lights everyone up like a Christmas tree and then just mic drops and leaves.
well, then
If
you just
they're
don't add those guns as a playable weapon. You limit what the assassin is
ugh,
capable of using.
that would be that. Yeah, but at the
Because
same
the point of an
time,
Assassin's Creed game isn't for you to be running and gunning and just going in with a fucking machine gun and lighting people up. That's not the point. So
Valhalla
you
looks
got to
like a
be
game that
told
you're gonna run in there with a freaking double hatchet and destroy everything.
Viking,
That's that.
but that's
Yeah,
but that's Vikings though. Vikings were vicious barbarians that raped and pillaged a huge chunk of this planet. So that doesn't surprise me that combat's going to be a little bit more ruthless in that. But
mm.
I'm saying, you know, generally speaking, in these games, they want you to be stealthy, cold, calculated. They don't want you to just be boom, just fucking going in and just. You can certainly do it, but I think if they add in guns, they would need to limit you to what you could use. Because I don't want to play an Assassin's Creed game where I'm walking around with a fucking minigun
I
just
kind of
shredding
I kind of
people
would.
up. That'd be fucking stupid. It would get so boring so fast
Yeah,
because then it just takes out half the thing. It's like, okay, cool. I need to go kill this guy. All right, I'm just gonna kick down the front door and light it up, and it takes 30 seconds. It's like, no, I'd rather kill this guy and have nobody know that I was ever there
fair
and then
enough.
leave.
I mean, I would probably play it that way.
Well,
They
that's
could
because that's you.
right. I mean, they could do something where. Do you remember the Saboteur?
Yeah, for sure.
They could do something like that too.
Yeah.
I think that's World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. It's World War II. That was a
And
very
that
cool concept of a game.
yeah, black and white and red. I think it was black, white,
Yeah.
and red was the color scheme. And once you unlock the region, it brought color to the world.
Yep.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
cool idea. The game didn't perform as well, definitely as I thought it was going to, but which is a shame because again, cool idea, and I could see Assassin's Creed, and those guys going somewhere like that because I think you kind of have to start moving away from the. There's only so many games you can keep producing where you're just going in with a, hand-to-hand combat and doing that. But they did bring the hidden blades back, which was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you want to talk about PlayStation 5's breakdown, real?
Yeah, I'll
Ready?
talk about a few key points of it. I don't have to go super duper de duper into detail on it,
Then
but there's a
let's.
couple cool. Oh, you want to
I was
take a
like,
break?
yeah, I was like
You
commercial
want to
break before we lead
you want to
into
take a
it.
break?
Yeah, we're gonna take a break
Take
from
a
our
commercial break.
sponsor.
Oh,
That we're actually not going to see the commercial, but you will,
oh,
and you'll
what?
hear it
No,
right now.
what? Where's it? I don't. No.
Why Am I a Nerd podcast network has been brought to you by our sponsor, Me Moms. The best breakfast and lunch down the Jersey Shore with 3 great locations in Wall Township, Middletown, and Brick, New Jersey. Me Moms specializes in unique and fun takes on your traditional lunch and breakfast items. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can find more information at www.memoms.com.
Fuck. Hope you guys liked that commercial. It was really good.
Wow, dude, how did you get them to sponsor us? What? How did you get that? How did you get them? You know, them, the people that sponsored us to do that.
I called them.
Wow.
I just called them
up.
up.
Weird. I was going to say that must have been a weird phone call when you're talking to yourself.
It's only a matter of time until we get Prairie or Pierre or where the hell this
Perrier.
Perrier. I'm just gonna film myself riding a bike, listening to Lady Gaga drinking Perrier down the highway with sunglasses on and a Batman suit, and I'm sure they'll then sponsor it.
Cool, do that.
Or I'll just get hit by a bus and get and the day'll end.
All the same.
So, but anyway, here we go. So obviously they broke down the PlayStation 5. They literally broke it down on a white table.
Yeah.
Yep. Obviously everybody knows the thing is massive. It will be going on my floor. It will look like a fucking tower. I know a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to fit on my IKEA thing. No shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and in truth, that's probably for the fucking best. I look at this thing, and as much as I have like my PlayStation 4 Pro down there laying horizontally in this piece of furniture, this console, I do not think I would want to lay this thing horizontally. I think I only would want to stand this thing vertically, and I want this thing out in the fucking open so that it can breathe as much as it fucking needs to.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because Microsoft, again, like we said in the beginning of the show, they're kind of bickering back and forth like they always do now, yada yada yada. Maybe one day one of them will be like, "Hey, congratulations!"
Yeah.
One day.
Mm-hmm.
But Microsoft did kind of take a little jab at them with their way of changing out the memory, right? The memory, the SSD card.
Yeah, they just said you put it in or you unplug it, but you don't need to be a dick about that. When Sony dropped the mic on PS4 with the whole trading games thing, that was fucking funny because it was the truth. But okay, so you want to expand your memory on your Xbox One or your I'm just going to call it an Xbox. That's all it's going to be called now. Yeah. Everything else will be forgotten. You want to plug in your expandable memory. You literally just reach around to the back of your Xbox and you plug it in. That's fucking convenient. But in truth, adding a fucking bit of expandable memory to the PS5 is not fucking difficult. You slide off one of the faceplates, you pull off the little thing, and you just click it in. Mm. Oh God, that's so difficult. It's really
they do it for PC. Not. PC gamers do it all the fucking time.
Yeah, you literally crack your case open and you slide in more RAM or you slide in a different SSD. It's
it's not the end of the world. And it as much as I think that the PlayStation 5 is ridiculously big, and as much as I'm kind of like, damn, I wish it was smaller though in some way, I think it's like you have two things now. You have the PlayStation 5, which is huge, and you have the Xbox, which is decent, which is small. Which one is going to last longer based on, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, based on the size, the Xbox, all the components are so tight together. They're so small. If something overheats, not like it's going to melt another piece, but another, it's so close where the PlayStation is obviously more spread out.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, with internals, and for the record, I am not a computer expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I understand the basic engineering components of building your own computer and cooling and heat management and shit like that, and why it's important in something like this. And it's if your system gets too fucking hot and your chips get too hot, the performance degrades. It will literally kill your fucking graphics card. It will kill your fucking RAM. It will kill components within the system if they get too fucking hot. They're not meant to be heated up to fucking 200 300 degrees. They can't. That's not how it works. So you have to keep them cool. They're meant to be it can go up to a certain temperature, but keeping it cool is the point. And I think that was probably, you know, the two biggest takeaways, I think, which is shows a lot of really interesting design efforts. Was the fan in this thing, first off, is fucking huge. I mean, the fan in the PS4 Pro is not very big. And they gave the dimensions of the fan in this thing, and I converted it before to inches, because they do everything in millimeters. The fan is about 5 inches wide.
That's
and
big.
if 5 inches in diameter, let's say. So, and then it's about almost 2 inches thick. So it's a big, I mean, you see the picture, like when the guy takes, he fucking pulls it out. It's a massive fucking fan. Like, that's considerable for, you know, so it's like, okay, good. So the fan alone is already really good. And then I believe it's the SoC, the system on chip, is surrounded by liquid metal. They're using liquid metal for part of the cooling, which you really have to go like look at the video or look at some of the pictures of the components. But the liquid metal surrounding the chip is really fucking cool, because it's given, it has borders on it. So people who build PCs will use liquid metal, but the problem is that their liquid metal over time degrades, it oxidizes, and it just basically just like, it's like any kind of metal, like it just rusts and it just degrades, and it doesn't work as well as it's supposed to because it's not insulated. The chip on this actually has a border around where it is, where the liquid metal is, so that it's encased, it's like hermetically sealed, so there's no air, so it won't degrade because of, you know, just air getting into it. It won't degrade because of that. And it actually has enough space where it can, as it heats up, because metal expands, it has enough room where it can expand and not like hurt itself.
That's smart.
You know what I mean? So that's a huge fucking thing too, which, I mean, that in terms of the cooling for this thing. And then the heat sink, they showed off the heat sink on this, and it takes up a pretty considerable portion of the system. And it wasn't just like a standard heat sink that you would see like in the Pro or even in the Xbox One. Like it's specifically like they engineered this heat sink for them. And it's not even just a heat sink. It's also it's more like oh God, what is it? A vapor? I can't remember the proper term. It's like a vapor something.
Like a cooling kind of spray.
Yeah, it's whatever. No, it's not even a spray. It's just, it resembles. Oh fuck me! Why am I not going to be able to remember it?
I can see them.
It's really cool.
I can see them because I'm looking at the picture right now with everything broken down, and I could potentially see them adding a second fan to this thing. If this fan
that would be unnecessary. Oh well, if it doesn't work, but then at that point, if it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that you need to add more. It means you need to find out why the one you have isn't working.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, like you said, how thick it is. It's a thick fan. And
yeah, it's 5 inches in diameter and about 2 inches thick. Oh, it's a vapor chamber, which is what I was going to say. So like on the heatsink, there's little heat tubes, and then the way that it's constructed resembles more of like a vapor chamber, which would be much more efficient. So it's just like they didn't just put in like stock things. Like they basically designed their own heatsink for this. I think, you know, the fan is like, I remember when he fucking took the fan out, I was like, holy fuck, that thing is huge. It's like twice the size or more of the fan that's in a PS4 Pro. So
I'm curious to know what the fan size is on the Xbox Series X fan size.
130
it's
millimeters.
Bigger.
It's bigger. It's bigger in diameter by about 10 millimeters. But yeah. So, I mean, they need to. Anything smaller than either one of these would not be good. It would not be conducive to the system. So it's got to be they got to be big fucking chonkers to get that hot air out. But that's also another big factor too on this thing, is they said they designed the case on this so that you could vacuum it. It's able to withstand vacuuming, so you can actually, instead of like having to hit compressed air in there, you can actually like take the fucking plates off and just vacuum the shit out of all the dust on your.
Which is super smart. It's like really a good move.
I mean, I don't know if I'd take a shop vac or anything to it. That's really really like fucking strong, but you could take like a normal like household vacuum and just go right over it and get all your dust out of there, which is fucking sweet.
which is really smart too, because you think about, again, just looking at this Xbox breakdown, they have a picture of it all decompressed, and it's just the size alone and how spaced out they made this PlayStation 5. I get it, that's big. Trust me, I'm not saying that it doesn't suck that the thing's massive, but
Yeah.
this Xbox thing just worries me because of how fucking small it is, and especially with, look, gaming towers aren't getting smaller. Let's be honest, they're getting bigger, and they've kind of been, or they're just kind of staying the same. But I would say they're probably getting a little bigger. Unless you're getting like the little tiny Apple pod thingy that, is for like recording and stuff like that. But if you're getting a gaming PC, you're getting a fucking desktop, and the desktop is big, and the desktop is able to, change parts out, yada, yada, yada. So the fact that Microsoft decided to say, hey, we're not going to make something big, we're not going to make it something where you could interchange the parts, and we're just going to make this square, small little box because it's everything smaller in the world, is kind of like, to me, almost what Nintendo did with the GameCube, where it's like, hey, we're going to shrink this thing. It's going to be great. And it came out and it didn't really have any problems. But the next thing you know, they're coming out with the fucking Wii, and it looks, the fucking, like, graphically wise, it almost looked just as the same as the GameCube. And then you could say the Wii U kind of looked like, obviously
it was
the
just
Wii,
like slightly better.
Yeah, and I guess you can, not until like the Switch came out, and even the Switch, it's still the Switch is so far behind graphically, behind PlayStation and Xbox, that it visually shows. It's almost like the reason why I think that Nintendo sticks with their kind of cartoony, fun graphic wise, or like cell shaded, because it's not required to push out this realistic look, because they would never be able to pull it off. Like The Witcher on the Switch looks terrible. It does,
but
not
I don't
look
think
good.
That's the point. I don't think they're necessarily, that is their point, that they feel like they need to have cutting edge graphics. So
that's what I'm saying. So for Microsoft, I can see them being like, hey, this isn't working. This thing's getting really hot. If and then let's say they come out with the Xbox Series, I don't know, Triple X, fuck knows whatever the fuck they name it, and they come out with something that's like big, like the PlayStation 5. Do you jump on their throat and say, dude, you were fucking talking all this shit about how big the PlayStation 5 is. Now you come out and you make almost the exact same size product because your Xbox can't handle the increase of, what's required to play these games. Because think about it, especially in 4 or 5 years from now, when games are starting to push the envelope with these things, that fucking thing ain't gonna be able to handle it. It's gonna get way too hot.
But that is where, it goes back to the earlier conversation. Just because something is getting hot to the touch doesn't mean that it's problematic. It means that it's doing its job. If your hot air is coming out of your fucking console, it means it's doing what it is supposed to be doing. But I've never touched my PlayStation 4 or my PS4 Pro, touched the top of the case, the plastic, after a really long gaming session and gone, holy fuck, that's so hot, and like yanked my hand away. It's been warm, it's been hot, but not, where I'm like, holy shit, this is going to start a fire. But I mean, when some people are talking about the Series X and saying it feels like a fucking furnace, that's not good. That's too hot.
Yeah.
Which then that's where I think, you're kind of on the right path, where it's the heat management is not going to be so good. The thermal paste that's on these things is going to start wearing away, and then people are going to start getting, degraded components. The graphics cards are going to stop working, and it could potentially, if they suffer another red ring type situation, it's going to be really bad, because that cost Microsoft I think $2 billion in just lost fucking money with the 360, with all the red rings. That was bad.
That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting thing to see. But we'll see. Before we wrap up, though, I want to talk about something that I listened to. Yes, I listened to yesterday, and it stays on topic of what we're talking about with the consoles and stuff like that. Which was, I listened to it over at GameScoop from IGN. They were talking about how they think that Nintendo is going to start doing the Apple iPhone treatment, where they're just going to, make a Switch and another version of a Switch and another version of a Switch and just keep making new versions of the Switch. Do you see there to be a need for Nintendo to start produce, be like, hey, we're going to jump up like with the PlayStation 5 and with the Xbox? Or are you cool with them just doing another Switch, another Switch, another Switch? Or do you want to see them make the leap?
I don't know, man. It's tough because the way I look at when I think of Nintendo and gaming on a Nintendo system, I always think of it as being it needs to be different. Mm-hmm. It needs to be different than what everybody else is doing, because if Nintendo just makes another home console and it's super crazy fucking PlayStation, like PlayStation 5, Xbox graphics, if everything's coming out on the Nintendo too, it's just going to be, I'm only going to be getting it for the fucking exclusives anyways, like Zelda and shit like that. But I don't need a Zelda game that looks like fucking Red Dead Redemption. It doesn't need to have super fucking realistic graphics. That's not the point. I want to have, with Nintendo, you always feel like it's a truly unique experience. And I think the Switch is really, in terms of what they've done with it, is really fucking cool. Just keep making improvements on it then. If you just do the Switch for the next fucking 10 more years, cool. Just keep releasing different versions of the Switch. That might not be such a bad thing, because then it'll certainly, they won't have to, it's not reinventing the wheel. They just the graphics will improve over time because they'll be able to put better hardware in it. They could make a Switch that's bigger. They could make fucking Switches that are super small if they wanted to.
Is there a design element? Is there a design element on the Switch you'd like to see switched out, changed, better the way it feels, controllers? And what would you switch out on it?
I don't know. I guess the one thing that never really like hit for me as well as it probably should have was the docking aspect of it. Like it's cool in theory, but like I hate, like, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't look as good as it does like with me just playing it on the screen of the Switch itself. It always seems a little, I don't know, like washed out when I would put it in the dock back in the day. So I never really liked it. And then of course there's frame rate issues and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I tend to just fucking play it portable. Like that's how I do it. I feel like it looks better that way. The only thing that I would want to see is just maybe, the graphics don't have to be realistic, but just maybe improvements to just those, the performance, just making it just look a little bit more crisp, making it run just a little bit more smoothly. That's
increase the
just that kind of shit. Yeah, just hardware is really like just the performance. I would just want it to perform better, but I also don't need it to be the level to be crazy performance, because I don't need that to play Hades. Hades is fucking fine, but like it's just, I guess it's those little things, but it's just me being, I guess, nitpicky, because I don't really have a lot of shit that I can talk about the Switch.
Well, they were saying that shit, just lost my train of thought. Fuck.
Switch, Nintendo.
Crap.
Trying to jog your memory.
I can't think what the fuck it was. It was
loser.
I know. Hey, have you looked into this real fast? This Genshin Impact game?
I played like 20 minutes of it, and I can't really get into it. But a lot of my friends are playing it, and they said it's pretty good. Yeah, they said it's good. It's not like there's nothing bad about it. It's just like, I guess towards the end you hit that paywall kind of shit. So then you got to start doing some of the gotcha things, and you got to start putting in like in-game currency or spending real money to get in-game currency to start rolling out, possibly getting different characters and shit. So I don't know. I think I'm out.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Now I'm definitely out. I mean, it looked like a decently cool idea, but yeah, I get what they try to do. It looks like Breath of the Wild. They say it does. If you watch it, it looks just like
100%.
Breath of the Wild. I mean, there's no way around it. And I guess if you're a diehard Zelda fan, you will be indeed, playing that and jumping on board. And I can't believe I can't think of what the fuck I want to talk about with the Switch. That's gonna drive me nuts. Now I'm gonna fucking end up texting it like later on. They'd be like, "Oh, this is what I meant to say." But anyway, this was Why Am I Nerd? Presents Alpha Beta Gold Games. Where once again, you can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd, and listen to new episodes every Monday on YouTube and your favorite podcast service. So that is it for us today. I'm Cameron James. That's just Matt. Until next time.